Thank you. Okay. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janice Banks, and I'm with Small Planet Works, and welcome to the public hearing for the Memphis Light, Gas, and Water Disparity Study public hearing. The hearing will be recorded, as I've indicated, and posted on the Griffin & Strong website. MLGW engaged Griffin & Strong to conduct the disparity study, and Small Planet Works partnered with Griffin. We also have, and I'm sure many of you know him, Austin Broussard of Griffin & Strong with us, who is the project manager for the study. Before we get started with the public hearing portion of the session, many of you may not have been able to attend our informational meetings. So I'm going to do a really quick overview, and then take an overview of the study again, and then invite a few questions about the study, but not about the MLGW process, but just about the study. And so once we get started with the public hearing, which purpose is to hear from you, I'll stop taking questions and then begin to take your comments and testimony. So if you will bear with me for a minute, I'll share my screen. Okay. Okay, can everyone see that? Just raise your hand if you can see it. Good, thank you. Okay. Griffin & Strong is an Atlanta-based public policy consulting firm. It's been doing business of disparity studies for about 30 years. It has a team of lawyers, economists, a PhD in social psychology, a PhD in public policy, and a PhD in anthropology, all part of the team to lend their expertise to these studies. Griffin & Strong's CEO, Rodney Strong, is the project executive and was the director of contract compliance for the city of Atlanta and the project manager on the first post-Croson disparity study, and was the principal architect of the City of Atlanta's MWBE program, which became the model for the nation. The firm's principal investigator, Dr. Vince Egan, is one of the few expert witnesses left in these kinds of cases. He's conducted over 150 and successfully defended 7 studies as an expert witness. It's important to start also by being very clear about what a disparity study is. It's an objective research tool that determines whether there are disparities in a governmental agency's procurement activities, and certain groups and such disparities are statistically significantly likely to be caused by the race and gender of the firm's majority owner. So the heart of the disparity study looks at the availability of firms in the marketplace compared to their utilization. And we do disparity studies because of the City of Richmond versus J.A. Croson case from 1989, which is really the first time the court ever equated remedial programs, which are designed to remediate past disparities and discrepancies, with malevolent discrimination itself. What it says is that both of them treat people differently. So in order to have any kind of race or gender-based program, you have to first establish a factual predicate. In other words, you have to prove the existence of disparities with a certain methodology that has been driven by the courts and by case law. And then after we do a disparity study, whatever our findings are, our remedies to remediate any race and gender discriminations have to be narrowly tailored to the findings of our study. It also requires that we look at race and gender neutral remedies first before we move on to race and gender conscious remedies. We don't have to exhaust the race and gender conscious or gender neutral remedies, but we have to seriously consider whether we believe that the race and gender neutral elements will cure any disparities. For instance, sometimes we see that what affects minorities and women-owned businesses may affect small businesses in general. So for instance, small business remedies would be race and gender. So here's our process, the methodology and approach. This is our study process and why it takes at least a year for disparity studies to be done. There's a legal analysis since it's driven by the courts. We will deep dive into the procurement policies in order to understand what the organization is doing so that at the end of this, we can make recommendations about how MLGW can modify what it's doing if necessary. A lot of time is spent collecting and cleaning data. Our first analysis is to determine what the geographic and product marketplace is like. For instance, what are we studying? Where are the firms located? That's an analysis in and of itself. It's based on where MLGW is already spending at least 75% of its dollars in 5 distinct industry categories of construction and architecture and engineering, construction-related professional services, and other services and goods. Once we determine those parameters, we look at where MLGW is actually spending its dollars, both with primes and with subs. We also do a threshold analysis that looks at what level of contracting the organization is doing. Are they doing a lot of big contracts, which may indicate that we might need to look at contract sizing? Are they doing a lot of smaller contracts where there are opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses and small businesses in general? We then look at the availability, which is, okay, here's who they're already spending their money with. Who are the other ready, willing, and able firms in the marketplace that could be providing those services? The disparity analysis is the heart of what we do. It compares the two. What's the difference? For instance, if 10% of all the Hispanic American engineers are in the marketplace, are they getting 10% of the engineering dollars? Once we determine that there is a disparity, we have to determine that what was the likely cause of the disparity. So we do a regression analysis that looks at all of the other potential reasons or causes for the disparity other than the race and gender of the owners. So we look at things like how long the firm's been in business, the size, the revenues, how many employees they have, and the education of the owner. Things like that that could equalize what the performance is. Once those are taken out, we look to see if there is still a disparity. If there is, then we make what the Croson Court calls an inference of discrimination, which is the culmination of the current effects of past discrimination. That completes our disparity analysis for MLGW spend. But then we also have to look at what's happening in the private sector marketplace. The courts have said that even if MLGW spend is in line, but then we find that there are disparities within the marketplace as a whole, the government, in fact, can be a change agent for those private sector disparities. The anecdotal evidence is critical to us, which is why you folks are here today. So I'm really happy that you joined us, and we have a good crowd here, because this is an opportunity for you to share your experience doing business with or attempting to do business with MLGW to get contracts and projects. We'd like to hear things positively and negatively. It's important to understand how you interact with the purchasing process. How can the process be made easier and more accessible to your business? This is your opportunity to contribute to the recommendations we'll make. We rely on several sources to tell us how to make those recommendations. We look at the policy itself. Is there anything in the policy that may be a barrier to women and minority-owned businesses? Our own institutional expertise doing this around the country and seeing what kinds of programs work is also added in. But probably the most important element is what we hear from you tonight about your experiences. That's a wealth of information for us that tells us all the things that can contribute to MLGW having a better procurement process. We do that in a lot of ways. We're going to do this public hearing. We've done interviews, and the business owner survey is still open until April 7th. And we'll be putting that link in the chat later. Okay, so there are a lot of different ways we collect this information. Then finally, there'll be a report and recommendations. Now here's what it looks like. This is where we currently are, at the community engagement portion of the study. You can email those comments, as we said earlier, to the MLGW study email address that Austin will put in the chat in a few minutes. But here's where we are today. This is our timeline. Okay, we expect to have findings and recommendations completed and the report completed this summer, but we are right here. Okay, and this summer we expect to have those recommendations complete. Again, here are other places that you can stay involved, or other ways that you can stay involved with interviews and the focus groups. If someone calls you to invite you to a focus group, please agree to participate, because that's very important. Again, here are other ways that you can participate. Now, lastly, the purpose of this hearing is to hear candid testimony about your experiences, both positive and negative, either doing business with or attempting to do business with MLGW. Everything said during this hearing will be available for public record, but Griffin & Strong's final report will not publish the names, your names or business names or other affiliations of individuals who give testimony here tonight. We are not soliciting questions at this time, but comments only. Additionally, we will not be responding to questions or commentary other than to try to gain additional clarity to your comments. And again, when providing comments, please begin by stating your name and your business name for the record and before you begin your testimony. Of course, we ask that everyone be as respectful to each other as possible. Please don't have your comments to take more than 5 minutes. And if they do go a little long, you'll see me raise my hand. And so let's keep them within 5 minutes. And there may be members of the staff of MLGW here attending tonight, but please don't direct any questions to them. They're here to listen and to learn as we are. This is really a listening session for us to really hear what's going on with you and what your experiences have been. Okay, so that's the end of the overview, brief overview. And now you can raise your hand with using a hand function if you'd like to say something, ask a question rather, and you can unmute yourself and we'll get started. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take just a few questions, if you have any, of the process, of the study process. If you'd like to raise your hand. Okay. Okay, Bobby Peters, unmute yourself and we can go.
Okay, I'm assuming, if you can hear me, I'm assuming that this is, again, like you stated, the first process along the way of the evidence that's needed for any municipality to say, yes, there's a disparity here. And from there, they take your stuff, go into legislative type committee and bring up some type of policies and procedures for things to be allocated out that will bring more minorities to the table. Is that what I'm hearing?
So,
Austin.
yeah, what you're hearing, Bobby, is this. This study process is a research process. You go in, look at the data, look at the policy that's actually on the books, and this study is particularly for MLGW. There are two other studies going on for the city of Memphis currently and for Memphis Shelby County Schools, each of them as separate entities, each of them with their own study. But specifically to your question, we do a policy review as a part of the study research, as a part of looking at the data, as a part of the entire process. And the reason why, of course, Griffin & Strong, or I guess one of the benefits of the fact that Griffin & Strong is made up of economists and lawyers and policy experts, is that as a result of this work, we can actually help draft legislation legislation, or of course, procurement policy, as MLGW is not a legal, government entity. It's a government-owned entity, but not a government administration or municipality. But our team can actually help them craft language if they need to. And the goal there is to be able to create the infrastructure, the language infrastructure on which the procurement process, that procurement buying process can stand, creating an equal playing field for minorities and women business owners in the marketplace. So to your point, yes, this study does inform what can then be turned into policy, but where that happens in the process is actually much earlier, can be earlier, excuse me, earlier than way after the study. Instead, it can actually be a part of our scope of work per the client's needs at that time. And our team can help them draft that language. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bobby. Any other hands about questions about the process? Okay, then we will start taking your comments and hear from you about your experiences. So just raise your hand and unmute yourself and give us your input.
And one last reminder, it's your experience, both positive or negative, doing business with MLGW or attempting to do business with MLGW, including if you have not and are not interested or anything like that. We need to know why, because the whole point of tonight is to hear your lived experiences attempting to do business, doing business, or doing business in this marketplace, and figuring out ways in which listening to you can help us make that process better. You don't all have to go at once, but please do unmute yourselves, raise your hand, and share, because again, the study process relies on the direct feedback of business owners as a part of our anecdotal evidence gathering process. And if no business owner tells us anything, the assumption can only be there is nothing to share. And that usually isn't the case, I'll put it that way. Both positive and negative, we'd like to hear it all. And so please unmute and make sure that your voice is heard.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Amanda, for being the first brave one, the first brave participant. Thank you for giving your comments.
My name is Amanda Crawley, and I am representing Tree of Life Outreach of Tennessee. I don't know if I'm in the right room because it had what I'm doing or what I've I guess narrowed down to, because I do a lot of things, but what I narrowed down to, it don't have anything to do with lights and gas and water. So I don't know. I may be in the wrong. I may be in the wrong room. I may be in the wrong this platform. I don't know. Because what I do is we do motivational things like music and dance, things like that. After school programs where motivation can be brought into football games and football practices and things like that. So that's what we do. That's one thing we do. So I don't know if I'm in the right place or.
Okay, are you a for-profit business or nonprofit?
Yes, I am. I'm a for-profit business.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you ever attempted to do business with MLGW, get a contract or anything?
No, this is going to be my first time. No.
Okay, and the reason, and what's the reason why you've never attempted to get a contract?
Because I live in Nashville.
Okay.
And I never thought to even reach to Memphis till I started getting invites. And I have contacts in Memphis. So I just, I don't even know how I started getting the emails. I just did. And I just been following up.
Right. I'll provide just a bit of clarity here. Anyone who was invited to these meetings, your name and email address are on a list that you must have signed up for at the state, county, city level, at the airport level. Any of the public lists where we could identify information with contact business owners were used to compile a master outreach list and find as many people as possible to get them in the room tonight. And as you can see, there are still only, I think, 17 of us, not including myself, Joyce, or the one MLGW representative. And so it's necessary to get the word out. And that's why we utilize that master list to reach out to as many businesses as possible.
Okay. Well,
thanks, Amanda.
And lastly, to your point, there are corporations that do utilize leadership development and corporate speaking and motivational speaking. And so the question is, from your business experience, either attempting to do business with, doing business with, or even sometimes doing business in the marketplace. What are your experiences, and how, of course, can we listen to your experiences to improve this process?
Oh Lord, I'm sorry, my TV. Hold on, I'm sorry, my TV just came on.
Okay. I've got you, Bobby. I'll come back to you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I haven't really put in time with Memphis to even, I can't say anything negative about Memphis at all. So, I mean, I can't say anything negative or positive because I never even tried. Like I said, this is the first time I'm on this platform. So, I don't know, I can't say anything. I mean, I have nothing to say, really.
Thank you, Amanda. But we're glad that you're here, so thank you. Bobby, you can unmute yourself, and then Adrian, I'll call on you next. Thank you. Go ahead, Bobby.
Okay, I could have went after Adrian, but however, what I find it to be more problematic is that there are certain limits that minorities in particular cannot reach when it comes to people who have been in this game for a long time, whether it's bonding requirements or assets under management. The limits are so high, and these people still have the ability and the skill to do the work, and probably can, do a lot of the work. However, they are automatically not considered for these bids because they don't have certain bonding requirements in place. It's just an automatic shutdown. And so if there's something that can be placed in policy, legislation, what have you, that say, if this is a minority certified business, woman-owned, however that you see it, then we can consider this bid at a lower bonding amount or asset requirement amount, so that they can actually, participate in this production.
Okay. Have you ever gotten any feedback from MLGW, or are you referring to MLGW solely, or is it in the marketplace in general?
It's in the marketplace, not only with MLGW, it's with the city of Memphis, also with Shelby County government. The limits are just so out of reach for what we are capitalized for, because we're just getting started. We're not in those boardrooms where, things have been amassed, people can vouch for other people and they get the job starting off, or they have the assets already there so that they can, get qualified for, putting in bids for these contracts. We need something that will allow us to get these bids without actually having those capital requirements in place, so that we can at least start building from somewhere.
Okay, thanks, Bobby. Adrian, would you like to unmute yourself?
All right, am I unmuted now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, how you doing? I'm Adrian. I own a company called Blue City Electric, and I have put in quite a few bids. I've had quite a few 20-hour nights, back to back to back, putting in these bids.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be nice to have some type of feedback. It's because I've seen some of these guys go in with 45% profit rates and win, and my profit rates are smaller than that, and I'm not getting anything back. It's more to it than that. And it'd be nice if they had some type of transparency. And this is not directly dealing with MLGW itself, but through the primes. Because like what Mr. Peters spoke on earlier, these contracts are pretty big.
Okay. And have you followed up with MLGW in this case to ask for feedback on the selection process? And
No,
why you were not selected?
No, only to the primes that were speaking to me directly.
Okay, so you didn't bid, just for clarity, you didn't submit the bid to MLGW, you were subcontracting with,
Correct.
and that firm, that prime, did not receive the contract.
I don't know. That's
Oh.
what I'm saying. I don't have any feedback. I've gotten feedback from other contractors say, well, we didn't get it. You get guys saying they got it, and then I don't know any, there's no feedback, there's no transparency, right? I know that's part of the game that we're playing. I guess that's what it is. But it seems like there should be a little bit more transparency as to what's going on, because there's a lot of time, there's a lot of resources that's involved in putting these bids together to begin with, right?
Right. Okay, and in this particular case, did you go back to that prime to ask the status of their bid, you know, whether they received it or not?
Yes, but I haven't gotten any replies. This is
Okay.
on three separate occasions.
All right,
Right, this is 3 separate occasions. So I don't know where we stand. The transparency is not there. And I guess it's not supposed to be there. I don't know if that's one of those taboo things that they're not supposed to speak on. But it ain't adding up to me. I'm just trying to figure out, where we stand. If we had a little bit more transparency, it'll be a little bit easier to do business. Because how can you get better if you don't know where you need to get better at, right?
right. Okay. Thank you, Adrian. Bobby, could you unmute yourself and tell me the name of your company again?
Okay, so my company is Trulytics Financial. And I actually trade through LPL Financial out of San Diego. However,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
so this is mostly on a financial type level. It's a lot of things that they give contracts out, period. But those requirements are so out of reach as far as what they want you to have until it's almost impossible for any minority or woman-owned firm to even try to bid on without sub-bidding under someone else.
Okay. Thanks, Bobby. Anyone else? Yes, Randy, are you clapping or?
No, man, I'm sorry. I meant to raise my hand.
Okay.
I don't know if I need to wait till after everybody else. Of course, I'm an MLGW employee, so I may need to wait until afterwards, because I would like to, if you want us to have a response to, and I can understand some of their concerns, both Mr. Peters and Mr. Adrian.
Adrian, yes.
So I understand kind of understand their concern on that. So I may need to wait until at the end or once everybody gets done,
Yes.
and then I can kind of comment on that if you would like for me to.
Right. What we can do is leave, once we close the public hearing portion of the meeting, we can open it up for a few minutes of Q&A. Of course, don't want to hold anyone past their bedtime tonight, but for issues that are pertinent, particularly relevant, and of course, time sensitive, we can put that couple of minutes at the end as a bookend to get those questions answered and make sure that the communication flow is there. So thank everyone, of course, for your time and your patience here. But yes,
Right.
Randy.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Broussard. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Thanks, Randy, for being available. Okay, got that, Bobby and Adrian? Okay. All right. Would someone else like to share your experience, either doing business with or attempting to do business with MLGW? And if you have not attempted to do business, why not? Carol and Michael Banks, go.
Thank you, cuz. We're not really cousins. We don't know, but I just had to say that.
Right.
I have attempted to do business with MLGW, but haven't gotten to the point where I'm putting in, responding to RFPs. It was primarily going to certain events where they were present and wanted to make sure that the business community knew that they were available to do business. The name of my company is A Tour of Possibilities, and I do African-American historical and cultural tours of Memphis. So my connection to corporations or businesses such as MLGW is not the normal run, because I don't have that expertise in laying whatever it is they might need laid, or electricity or anything like that. But where I come from, or where I sit rather, is to give businesses like MLGW an opportunity to use my services for their onboarding and orientation programs. Just because I feel if you're going to be servicing the people of Memphis, you should know a little bit about it. So I just haven't, as I said, I've tried a couple of times, I've made contacts. We just never seem to get to the next step. So that's where I am now.
What is your experience in the marketplace in general?
Actually, this is relatively a new area that I'm working in now. So it's been about a year and it's slowly picking up. We've worked with Pinnacle Financial Partners, Teach for America, Renaissance Convention Center, certain schools and all. I just really was looking at MLGW actually several years before I started this new leg of my business. But there's definitely potential there, and possibilities, the name of my company, are endless. I know, I just need to get in.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Remember, you don't want to leave tonight and think later that, gee, I should have recommended this and recommended that. Okay, yes, Alan Gumbel.
Good evening. My name is Alan Gumbel. I'm with the Black Business Association of Memphis, and I have been with the organization a relatively short period of time, but I do think that there is certainly a broad disparity that exists based upon the feedback that we get from our members. And one of the most frequent questions that we get, besides how can I access capital, is can you help us with contracting opportunities with not only the public sector, but also the private sector as well. And so my comment is more general,
Okay.
but I would also like to ask if I may post the link to the survey to our members. We have about 450 members, and
Yeah.
we'd love to be able to connect all of our members, some of which may be interested, some of which may not be, but we'd love to connect them to the work that you're doing on this disparity study, as well as the other two studies that you're working on.
Excellent.
Alan, please do.
Yes, please, yes. And the study will remain open. The survey will remain open until April 7th, midnight, through April 7th. But thank you, Alan. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Now you can share positive things as well. Yes, Jimmy.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't know how to put the raise hand function on there.
No problem.
We've done several contracts with Light, Gas, and Water over time. And the name of our company is Scruggs Equipment. My wife would normally be here. She's actually our CEO and everything, but she had a prior engagement. But I do want to say a couple of positive things that they've done. They have reached out. They are trying to, we do more of a goods rather than a contracted service in that sense. So we build equipment and so forth. And they have at least, they've separated some of the equipment from the chassis because it was making it too big a contract with the chassis it lent itself to more opportunity and for bidding. But as far as the personnel and their desire to be inclusive, they do go the extra mile, like Gas and Water. Now, that being said, I totally understand what even Bobby was bringing up, because once again, there's still some barriers to entry for even maybe if you were having to get bonded and so forth, and the high amounts required for the particular things, and some of that is normalized in the market, but that doesn't mean that there's not a better way of approaching that. But I do want to commend them for the professionalism in the way that they set up their bids, the meetings that they have to try to be more inclusive to everybody. I think they do go the extra mile there. But does that mean everything's perfect? No, we don't live in a perfect world. But I'm also glad to be part of the studies, and we've also been part of the MMBC, Minority Business Council, and they've done wonderful as far as getting some of us as contractors to go meet with some of the private sectors that are having the primes to at least consider us for certain applications for certain smaller pieces and subsets of the business. And so I think that is a good positive thing. But and I think that was Adrian that brought that up, but it would be good too that the primes would give some feedback to the subcontractors. That would be very, very beneficial, I think. And I don't know how they could legislate that to happen, but that would be a very positive attribute, because just like he says, everybody puts in their time, and they would like to know what they're doing right and wrong along the process. But that's what I've got to say. And I've dealt with other city departments and other state departments, and I still think that Light, Gas, and Water does try to help simplify some of the more complex matters.
Okay, and Jimmy, have you had difficulty getting feedback from regarding bids that you're on, whether as a prime or a subcontractor?
As a prime, we never have any trouble at all. But sometimes when we subcontract and we provide all the information, we run into the same thing that sometimes, and that is certainly not Light, Gas, and Water's fault, but the prime's fault. But the primes don't always give any feedback.
Okay.
And yeah, and so I'm glad when they separate it to where you can be your own prime, in that essence. But some things don't lend to that very well.
Unbundling the bid so
Yes,
that
ma'am. Yes,
be in
ma'am.
smaller pieces. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Okay, we'd really like to hear from you and want your contribution. Come on, don't be shy.
Again, it looks like we've had a couple of folks join us even since the beginning of the call. I see the number continuing to climb, which is great.
Yes.
But I have to remind everyone that's here, this meeting is specifically to gather your feedback. Yes, it will be a part of the public record. No, your name or business name will not be a part of the study's actual final report. No additional identifying information, of course, to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of the process. But when it comes down to nights like tonight, this is an opportunity for you to, again, bring to light your question, particularly your experiences, be they concerns or highlights, because what generally motivates individuals, business owners to speak is the statement that if no one speaks, we can only assume that everything is fine. And the goal is to hear about the things that are going great so that we can do more of them, and the things that can use improvement so that we can do something about that as well. And so this is your opportunity to do that. I know a lot of people do come just to listen, but for those of you who do have things to say, please do not hesitate. We've got about 16 more minutes, or probably closer to 10, because we're going to have that couple of minutes at the end for Randy to answer or present that information. So in these last 10 minutes, right, what do you have that you can share, both positive and negative, about your experiences doing business with MLGW or attempting to? Because this is the time to do it. Yes, we have a public hearing tomorrow. Yes, there is one on the 18th, but hopefully, of course, you can make the best use of tonight's time. We're happy to see you again, But tonight's time is valuable, and we look forward to, of course, hearing what you have to say. The only thing I'll add there is that we will be here the whole time. We said it will run until 6:30 Central, and it will. And so we don't want it to be a sitting quiet game for the next 10, 15 minutes, but we will be here. And even if you want to share at the very end, and I'm going to make sure I put it in the chat again, if you want to send in your email comments, any additional comments that you have, if you want to share those, you can do that to the MLGW study at GSPC Law email address. But what we don't want is to end this study process and to have not heard from you, right? Because the goal is, of course, to be able to use this information to improve the process and create this equal playing field for our business owners. I've just dropped it in the chat, the email address. And for those of you who are not yet on, when I put the survey link in the chat, I'm dropping that in as well. Again, we don't want anyone to not have the access to the information they need. And then lastly, the actual disparity study website, MLGW-disparitystudy.com. I'm putting that in the chat as well.
Thanks, Austin. Now, how can you not respond to that? Okay, that is a direct plea for your input. We want to hear from you. Yes, Alan. Okay, Alan, I'll come back to you. Andrew Withers?
Well,
Yes.
good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon. What's the name of your company?
I am the executive of the Ernest C. Withers Historical Home, which is located in the Walker Homes community, which is now on the National Register of Historic Places. I want to say that I do want to compliment the strong organization and their law firm and providing this way of inputting to the process of what is going on as far as funds being available for, I don't want to say minority firm, but for firms who are probably getting a minority of the money.
Okay.
Now, I have, some good and some bad. I guess I'm like most of everybody. I pay my light, gas, and water bill every month. I have several. I don't know if this is the question time or the comment time.
This is the comment. This is the comment time about your experience in doing business with MLGW or attempting to do business with the organization.
Yeah, well, for one, I've made some attempts to do some projects with Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. I have even had the opportunity of the past president, Mr. Young, to visit the Withers Historical Home on Brooks Road, and I was delighted that he came. And I did send a letter to him to follow up with him that what are some of the things that I hope that Light, Gas, and Water and the Withers Historical Home can do to increase customer satisfaction or customer interest. I guess it is part of a letter that I sent to him. I won't go into details with the letter, but one of the requests was to, I was aware that Memphis Light, Gas, and Water did have a baseball team during the time. We were right after the time the Negro Baseball League was kind of in its heyday. And that one of my attempts was to, what I was still working on now, to do a documentary on the Negro baseball, and hope that Light, Gas, and Water could possibly be a sponsor of that because of the fact that in our files, we did find that the light, gas, and water used to have a baseball team themselves.
Okay,
And there is an interest now to try to create, baseball, in our community because there is a lack of activities for our youth. And so that's what we've been, So anyway, I could go on, but I'll just digress at this point, and maybe I could see what could be done at this point. Thank you.
okay. So Mr. Withers, let me be clear. Have you attempted to get a contract or a project with MLGW? And if you have attempted to do that, what was the result?
Well, I actually didn't get a response back.
You submitted a bid or proposal and
Well, it was just in a letter form. I didn't, I guess like most people, I didn't know the process other than to submit an email to the person that they say who would be in charge of that particular event.
Okay.
Yeah. So it went to whoever was supposed to be over the public relations and this and that. So I never got a response back in relationship to that. And that was one, maybe that I've done it several times, we never got. And I'm a nonprofit organization as well.
Okay. Thank you. Alan, you have your hand up again? Yes.
Yes, I did. And quite frankly, it's just a question of clarification. I understand that the survey is open through Friday. Is the deadline for emailed comments also Friday, or is it beyond that time?
Absolutely not. It is open for as long as you, of course, during the study period, right? Ideally, as soon as possible, but definitely Friday is not the deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I want to do a post to our membership, and I want to make sure that I'm able to clearly say, the survey needs to be completed by Friday.
Yes.
The opportunity to provide comments via email is open for a little while longer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because we're trying to have, with our deadline for releasing the recommendations is this summer. So if they could get their comments in within the next 2 weeks, it would definitely be appreciated so that they can be factored into the recommendations as Griffin and Strong is developing the final report and recommendations. So as Austin said, the sooner the better. But thank you. 2 weeks. How about that? A little sense of urgency.
Right. And so last point for the survey, right? It should take them maybe 10 minutes to complete. It's Wednesday now. And we do hope that individuals can get it done. If you sent it out ASAP, right? Our goal would be for people to run through it as opposed to it being a 2-week exercise for them. And so hopefully, and it has been up for, I believe, 6 or 8 weeks at this point. You also been getting fairly consistent emails for it. And so in the same way that you were invited to tonight's event, that platform or those channels were utilized to share that survey information. And it might have seemed redundant. It might have gotten in your spam filter, but it has been open for, I believe, 6 to 8 weeks at this point, and already was extended once. And so if people can get that in soon, because here's what I'll say. What we notice sometimes is if we say, hey, everyone, you've got 3 more months to complete this survey. Then at the end of that 90-day period, we would have the same conversation. Can we have some more time? But it is literally only a 10-minute exercise. So as soon as they can complete it, we really would appreciate it.
Okay. Amanda, I saw your hand up a second ago. If you're still there. Yes.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back tomorrow because I'm getting this in my spirit. So I'm knowing, I didn't know at first what this platform was for, because of course it said Memphis Lights and Gas and Water. So I'm kind of seeing where it's going, the more the people asking questions. So tomorrow I'm going to come back because I think I'll have more to say tomorrow.
Okay, and it's at 12 tomorrow.
Okay, I'll come back tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Now we've got about 5 more minutes. And so people who wanted to get some answers from Randy We want them to stick around or listen to what information Randy can share about your experiences. So we don't have much time. So anyone else would like to share? We really need your input. Want you to be a contributor to these recommendations. Alan, is your hand still up? Still up?
No, but I don't know how to take it down.
Okay. Well, you did. You did. Thank you.
All right, so we'll ask it this way.
Mhm.
If this meeting were to close right now, has everyone said everything that they would like to for the public hearing portion? I only ask it that way because we want to make sure to give the couple of minutes for Mr. Orby of MLGW of MLGW to respond to provide information from earlier in the conversation. All hearts and minds clear. And I'm responding in the chat to the individual that did send over a message. So please know that that is happening. But as far as the public hearing portion, has everyone said everything that they would like to? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up.
Yes, that's okay. Okay, excellent.
All right, so I actually may, well, I'll leave the recording open, of course, so that it's still in the public forum, but the public hearing portion of this meeting has now ended. And again, we're just giving a couple minutes for feedback based on some information that can be shared from early in the conversation. Go ahead, Mr. Orsley.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Broussard, Ms. Banks. Those were some absolutely great questions that that Mr. Peters had, and I know Mr. Scruggs chimed in, and Adrian, some others. And so I just wanted to provide just a little bit of information, be kind of quick on it. I know they were talking about the one of the things was asked about doing business with us, and we try to go out and source as many suppliers as possible, especially supply diversity participants. I know Tamara Pate, she's on the line. She's our supply diversity coordinator, and she works hard to try to go out and find as many women-owned, minority-owned, and local small businesses as possible. She even has this program, Monday Mingle, that I believe she does twice a month. So she goes out and tries to source, and we try to find as many people as we can because we want to try to do as much business as possible with these groups. Having said that, one of the things that one of the participants said today on this was they were talking about the bonding. One of the things with the bonding is, especially if we have construction, in some of the laws and guidelines that we have to follow is anytime like certain kind of construction, we have to have a particular type of bonding. We used to have all of the bonding. If it was a 60-month project, we started minimizing that and changing that to 1 year with 4 renewals. And I talked with the CFO, and so we started splitting it in half, in hopes of getting more participation in that. And to give you an example, so say for instance, we had a 60-month contract for some kind of particular construction, and it was $100 million. Well, what we would do is do 1 year with 4 renewals, and we would just do the $20 million bond per annual renewal. Now, we still have to have something in place if for whatever reason, and I'm talking about performance bonds, if the performance doesn't work, they leave us in a situation, we have to have something to be able to pull for our monetary, for some kind of remuneration, I'll put it that way. State law and our statutes say that we have to have bonding. Same thing with licenses. With licenses, if we just had a situation where there was a company, and this was a $15.6 million contract. The contractor, who is an MBE, his license was only for like $1.5 million. Well, one of the things he did was he did a joint venture with someone that had an unlimited license. He was the sub, and the other person was the prime. But the sub got approximately about $12 million worth of work, and the person with the license only has about $3 million on that. There are different ways to try to navigate around that, but we have to operate within the guidelines, state guidelines, or whatever it is that tells us that we have to have these. And we've talked to our legal department and even our outside legal looking into that. But if we also have to make sure that if something happens, or if a contractor what's the word I want to say? He burns something up, or he doesn't do whatever, and it causes some kind of travesty for MLGW. We need to have something for some kind of financial remunerations for us to be protected. And our legal department and our outside counsel, none are going to let us do a contract without that. And that's even in the state laws also. I know you talked about prime and subcontracting and having transparency. One of the ways that I think that you can possibly do that, MLGW doesn't really have, we deal with the prime all the time, but if you fill out and you work with if you're a subcontractor and you work with the prime contractor, ask him when the bid opening is. Once you find out the bid opening, then you can get on the bid opening. You can always contact us, MLGW, and we can send you a link once you find out what it is. And let us know what the contract is. Let us know that you was a subcontractor. We can send you a link. And when we open up the bids, you can listen to the bid opening and you can hear all the prices and whatever else is discussed during the bid opening. Secondly, you can also, after the evaluation is over with and an award has been recommended and approved, you can go and ask for public records request, and we can send you that for you to be able to review as well. So those are a couple of ways to, try to find out about the bid and who won and, all that kind of information. Those are some ways to do it. I know we're short of time. You can always contact me. I'll be more than happy to explain it step by step on the process with you. And, we're open to trying to get as many supply diversity participants as possible. I know we're short on time. I had a few more things written down, but I'll wait maybe tomorrow and discuss that because I know we're kind of short of time on that. So I'll digress from that, but I just wanted to kind of respond to a couple of things and then we'll go from there.
Okay, Randy, would you like to say what your email address is, provide your email address so people can follow up with you directly since you have.
Yes, ma'am. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's R, then it's ORSBY@MLGW.org. Again, R, then my last name, ORSBY@MLGW.org.
Thanks. Excellent. Okay, well, we really appreciate your time, all of you this evening. And so you have given us more than our hour that we've asked you for. So thank you so much again. And at this time, we will close the public hearing. And remember that the recording will be on the the Griffin and Strong website later. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for participating. We really appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks, Haley. Okay.
Absolutely. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.